Welcome to the Social Distancing Podcast. I will be having chats with everyday people as they find their way through the next few months, physically distancing ourselves from each other while attempting to stay socially connected. The discussions will detail their day-to-day life, the methods they are using to keep in touch with their friends and families, any realizations and stories, and what tips and tricks they have for everyone else. This episode was recorded on the 31st of March 2020. It has now been 8 days since Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, announced tough social distancing measures. On this episode, I'll be talking to Peter. We'll be discussing what he's been getting up to in his time away from work, the current situation with shopping in the United Kingdom, and his claims it wasn't his fault that he now has a subscription to Disney+. Hello and welcome to the Social Distancing Podcast. Today I'm joined by Peter. Peter, are you well?
Yeah, you?
Yeah, pretty good, cheers. Pretty good. Peter, currently we're in a similar situation ourselves.
Yeah.
Both of us being engineers, and both of us have been told that we've been furloughed. How are you finding being furloughed?
Oh, difficult, but it's not what I wasn't expecting. We had a conversation when the news came out on Tuesday night. I was actually staying away in London at the time, watching it all happen, and the news saying no one can travel and this, that, and the other. So I thought, I'll get a good night's sleep and I'll go home, and then we'll talk it all out at work. And the decision came that, us being out on the road and being in the firing line, as it were, for this virus, that it wasn't really safe for us to continue. So the best scheme to go on was the government's job retention scheme, which means that we go on 80% of our basic and we sit it out rather than get made redundant, which, I think is the best of the bad situation at the minute.
Yeah, of course, it was an awkward situation for us. You chose to have a nice night's sleep that night. I decided to race back home that evening because I could feel my bed calling me.
Well, I don't get many quiet night sleeps at the minute, so I take every one that I can, even if we are on impending doom. I'll take it.
That leads us into your living arrangements. So you're looking for a bit of a quiet night's sleep away. What's the reasoning behind that?
I've got I live with my partner Paige, and I also live with a 7-month-old child, Rosalie, and she's very vocal at night. Likes to keep me awake, and yeah, so that's what I'm missing at the minute. That's a big thing I'm missing, is having the time to myself away to get some sleep.
Understandable. So how are you finding the living arrangement being back home? Of course, it's been a week for us now. And so we're both engineers that do stay on the road for a few days a week, usually.
Yeah, it's nice to be sort of around Rosalie and see her grow and learn new things, because she's going through a stage where she's, learning a lot. And usually I'd be sent videos when I'm away, or sent pictures. Oh, look, she's sitting up now, or she's eating this. And it's really nice to be able to see that firsthand and be part of that moment. But also, I'm a little bit of an adventurer, and I like to be out and about, and I'm quite social. So I like working in teams. I like working, with people on site, and I'm missing that a lot. But I think on a personal level, seeing my daughter grow is much more important, and it means a lot more to me. So that's what's got me through this past week, is spending a lot of time with her, and obviously Paige as well. It makes me happy too. Yeah,
it's nice to get those positives out of the situation. Of course, with us working away, usually the engineers, part of the engineer group, we are still in contact with each other. We do have our little WhatsApp group. And how else are you keeping in contact with people?
Well, unfortunately for my parents, they're a little bit older and they're not up to speed with technology. So for them, the best I can get is an email out of them once a day. I think it takes them all day to write the email, because I usually get it quite late at night. But it's nice to keep in touch with it that way, and we can send photos of Rosalie that way, and we can also talk on the phone. But there's none of this Skype calling, or we can't see each other face to face, and that's hard. That's hard because I usually try and see my parents once a week, so that's very hard.
It's understandable. I'm in a similar situation with my parents. It's phone calls, and there's no extra technology going on in that regard. We've been speaking over the last few days anyway, and I was going to ask you about entertainment, but I think it's less entertainment that you've been doing and more actual work that you've been doing.
Yeah, well, I mean, we had a list of things that we wanted to do in the house. So I'd actually booked a week off work around Easter to try and get all these things done. So I wanted to redecorate the living room. I wanted to put a new kitchen in, and just a general tidy up, and make up Rosalie's bedroom as well, and get that all ready. So as it happens, I purchased everything to do all this before everything kicked off. I was all sat there waiting for my week off, and now I've got an infinite amount of time off to get all these jobs done. So really, it's worked in my favor, but it also keeps me in the swing of things. So work, I'm very active. I do have an active job. So if I was to just sit down all day, watch films, when I got the call to go back to work, I'd be like, hang on, I need a couple of weeks to get my fitness back and get back up to speed because I haven't been working at all. So to get these jobs done is really keeping me in the swing of things. I try to get up when I would usually get up. I try to have my lunch when I usually would, and just keep everything as normal as possible.
So you've been managing to get the exercising part simply by working, but what else has kept you going and moving to keep that exercise up?
Well, I've got two dogs, Dave and Shelby, and luckily I can walk them without sort of being judged because you're only allowed one exercise a day, but they need the toilet more than once a day. So I go out with the dogs whenever they need to go. If they tell me they need to go, I'm like, right, long walk it is, and off we go. Because if you're out with a dog, I feel that people aren't judging you when they're watching you, and because we're quite a small village here, and if you see somebody that's out all the time, you are getting looks now, and people at the shop or people in their houses, you can see them looking at you. But if you're with your dog, then I don't think you get that judgment as much.
It's a weird self-policing thing that people have been slipping into now. Understandable, and it's quite a good thing, really. But it's strange to see people giving you those looks, and just everybody sort of questioning, "Oh, what are they doing? Where are they going?"
Well, even we're guilty of it. I mean, I can sit in the living room and Paige will say to me, "Bloody hell, neighbour's been to the shop third time today," or something like that. So even we're just as bad, and when we've roped ourselves into it. But no, we're not at the stage where we're ringing the police yet.
That'd be a bit extreme, and the current situation is more keep your distance, people, but not stop having a life.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it's funny when I've been washing the van or something out on the drive, and you see somebody crosses the road, and you think, look, I understand what you're doing, but you don't need to worry that much. I think sometimes everyone's taking it a little bit too. Oh God, I've got to walk on the other side of the road. I don't mind if you walk down the end of my drive. Oh, I don't mind. It's abiding by the rules, but then there's also the people who take it too far, and I think they make them worry. It makes them worry too much.
Now, when you're out and about, have you actually found that people are still talking to you? Because it's one of the confusing things I'm getting now is I understand social distancing or physical distancing ourselves from each other, but I don't quite understand that people don't seem to want to just generally talk. If you stood in a queue somewhere, everybody's sort of heads down or into the phone or something like that. I know that's a part of society nowadays is everybody's into the phone, but I'd be used to having one or two conversations though during the day with people that sort of stood around or at a bus stop or something.
It's a shame, really, because where we live, sort of everyone knows everyone, and we're quite familiar. And when I go out with the dogs, people usually come and pet the dogs or say hello and this, that, and the other. But it's a bit of a shame that people are crossing the road. They're not looking at you, or they're thinking, "Oh, does he think I shouldn't be out?" And everyone's assuming that they're being judged for being out now, so they don't have them conversations that they usually would because they're feeling guilty. But it's not the case. I mean, I've been ignored. I've said hello to people, and they've just been ignored. So I'm trying to lead a normal life as possible. Um, more for me, you know, if we've got to do this for a good amount of time, then I think that we need to do our best to be as normal as possible. Because if you're not interacting daily with people, say you live on your own, you're an elderly person going to the shop and you're not making them interactions, it will get to you eventually. It doesn't after a week, it will after 3, 4, 5 weeks.
Yeah, I can completely understand and agree with you. It's just one of those figuring things out, I guess, over the next few weeks or however long this lasts. Of who do we interact with? Where are those interactions? And I guess some of those interactions are slipping away a little bit.
Well, we've never had to do this before, have we? So, and a lot of people are learning as it goes. And I think once we've been in, you know, this sort of, I don't like lockdown because we're not. Nobody's coming around locking my door. We're in a social distancing scenario, what I prefer. Once we get our head around it and once we get comfortable, then I think we'll open up a little bit more.
I would say moving on to brighter and more exciting things, but there's a lot of events that have been cancelled and things that can't be seen or watched right now. So, how are you entertaining yourself day to day? What other things are you doing to keep that entertainment going in your life?
Well, yeah, obviously I'm missing a lot of things in the sporting world that I would have usually entertained myself with. But I'm just basically watching things that Paige is recommending me on Netflix because I'm not really a film or a program person. I don't do series really, unless it's to do with sport. I'm quite one-minded on that. But Paige will say, "Look, this is a crime drama. You might like this," and I get into it really, and I found myself becoming more into crime stuff on Netflix as well. And I thought there was one series I must recommend for anyone is Tiger King. I'm sure everyone's seen it on Facebook or social medias and that. And it's a really good series, a really interesting series that mixes both sort of a love for animals and a love for crime as well. So that's something I would certainly recommend.
That's a good recommendation. I've seen a few people discussing that. It might be something I have to pick up in the next few days. But other than the things that you're actually watching, what events that have been cancelled were you looking forward to at this point?
Well, in the summer, me and a friend had planned to go to a concert to see Noel Gallagher. The tickets, I was surprised the tickets were still available. But I just was saying to my friend, don't buy them yet. We'll see how things go. And the tickets were cheap, the tickets were available, and said just hold it. And lo and behold, it got cancelled. So I'm quite into my music, and I quite enjoy going to gigs when I can. So that's something that I'm missing at the minute quite a bit.
It's understandably so. Another aspect of the entertainment front, one thing that has been mentioned a few times so far on the podcast, is Disney Plus. Have you succumbed to Disney Plus? Are you watching anything on it right now?
I didn't download it. Paige downloaded and says, "Look, you'll like this. It's got Star Wars on it." And I went, "Oh right, yeah, that sounds like my kind of thing." Because I say I'm not into films and that. I'm a bit of a science nerd, so I do like Star Wars. And oh yeah, we've been watching the Avengers. We watched one of the Avengers films, and we're going to go through them all. I think because I've seen them in the cinema, but they're the kind of films that take maybe a couple of watches to really understand it and to get the story. So I'll be going through them again, I think, when I get a quiet moment.
Sounds like you've got plenty of content to be catching up with. My brother does keep telling me to have a watch of the Avengers and the Marvel films. I just never seem to find the time, and I guess over the next few weeks I will find some of that time.
Oh, definitely. I'd recommend them all as well. I mean, they're long films, but like you say, plenty of time to watch them.
So it's day 8 now of the country going into the social distancing practices. It's a bit of a change since it was originally announced, or the original problem started, and shopping has changed as well. Initially, we saw the panic buying by a lot of people, but of course, that's not something that's being able to be done anymore. Have you been down to your local shop in the last few days? What's it looking like now as you go out and about shopping? And are you managing to get everything that you need?
Well, luckily we've got the local co-op across the road from us, so we just sit and look out the window and take a moment when the queue isn't too big. That's the situation that we're in because, like I say, we're only a small village, but it's only the one shop, so we know that there's peak times and shorter hours, but I think we're quite sensible. We don't get too many people coming in from other villages to the shop, so we're all pretty sensible. All the shelves seem relatively well stocked, but it's just a case of sort of the bigger things that we have to go into Lincoln or Sleaford to get those. And when I've done one shop since we've been off, and that was hectic. Yeah, went into Tesco's in Lincoln, and I think I went about 8:30. That was bad. I should have gone any other time because I was queuing outside for a good while, and all the aisles were busy. But then there's people doing the same. As I was on about earlier, they're not talking to each other and they're avoiding each other and giving people weird looks. I'm thinking, come on, we're all there just shopping. There's no need to be like that. And it's an odd experience shopping at the minute.
It's something I've not done for the last few days, so I mean, I was intrigued to see how you're finding it. Something I'm probably going to have to do maybe this afternoon. So it's a heads up for me, really. Somebody who's socially awkward at times, it can be difficult going out and about to a shop with people around. I already feel like sometimes when I go out, it's think about exactly what I need, my route around the shop, where exactly I'm parking. Now I'm like, oh, I've got to think about how many people are in there. Can I move into the next segment before somebody else gets to it? It's my anxiety is going to go through the roof today when it comes to shopping.
Oh, yeah, you'll hate it. But I hate it for the other reasons. I like these interactions. I like interacting with people, and people don't really want to do that, even at the checkout. Like, I don't know if I just got the grumpiest person going, but they just don't want to talk. They want to, and they judge you if you can't use cash now because the cash is all diseased, apparently.
Now you say that. I went to the local corner shop a couple of days ago, on Friday, in fact, and wanted to get a few drinks in for the weekend. And the guy at the corner shop told me I could only pay with cash, which I thought was a very strange thing. I thought everything was going contactless. So I'm not sure what was going on there.
Well, that'll be a tax reason, that.
Maybe you may be right there. So bit of a weird one. I wouldn't let anybody know which shop that was. But
No, don't.
there was nobody in there as I was buying booze, whereas there was 13 people queuing outside of the Tesco. So it made sense for me to go there. The old socially awkward person decided that no people was better than people.
Oh, yeah.
So are there any other things you want to discuss or talk about for what's going on and what's happened so far during the social or physical distancing that we're going through?
I wish people would stop speculating. I mean, not only the news is often quite bad for it, but it's not as bad as people on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. They give you figures, or they give you fake facts, and it's just not what people need right now. All we need is straight up facts. So I would just suggest to everyone that wants to share something, just make sure you know where it comes from, and just make sure you know that it's right, because not everyone might be like you, where you just do it for a joke or whatever. Some people will believe what you're posting online, and some people will take that to heart, and it could affect them, in quite a detrimental way. So if anyone wants to find out any information on the virus and how things are improving, or if they're improving, or where we're at, stick to reputable news sites, and just, what I'm going to be doing from now on is just sticking to the press briefing at 5 p.m. every day. Just sit down, watch that, take it in, get the information that I need, and distance yourself from it, because it will just eat at you. And it's all right if it's a week, but we're not in this for a week.
Couldn't agree with you more. It's very difficult in these times because we don't know exactly how long this is going to last. Yeah, keep your eye out, keep your spirits up at the minute. It could last a considerable length of time, so hunker down, stay inside. The longer that we stay inside and keep the physical and social distancing, the more it's going to actually help the NHS. And the sooner that we'll be able to get back to what will be a normal life, or what will be life after this.
Exactly, and I would say that those of you that are lucky enough to be locked down, staying with your families, then take this time, because we all live very busy lives now. When do we get the chance to spend weeks upon end with the ones that we love? That's unheard of. I would never, off my own back, book this much time off work, never. But the things that I've seen in my daughter and my partner, and the things that I miss when I'm away and I'm working. So if you want to really make a positive side of it, and you are, lucky enough to be staying with your family, just appreciate the time that you've got with them.
So finally, we come to looking at when this is all over and done with. What are you looking forward to doing?
Weirdly enough, it's going back to work.
It's on record now.
It's on record. As much as I said that I enjoy the time, at home, there comes a time where I get a lot of satisfaction out of my job, and I get a lot of reward, and I miss that. I definitely miss it. So to just get back out and doing what I enjoy doing is engineering. You don't get into engineering if you don't like it. So I do enjoy it, and that sense of reward and fixing things and getting things working again, I want that back in my life. I want the nice balance to be back between the work and the home, to be restored again.
Thank you very much for being on today. It's been great to talk to you and hear your current situation.
That's all right. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to the podcast. If you'd like to keep up with what's happening, then follow us on Twitter at TheSDpod. Any questions you have for the podcast, please send these to TheSDpod@gmail.com. Take care.